Well, Qatar's emir called out the international community for failing to confront Israel for its illegal occupation of Palestinian land.
The lingering of the Palestinian cause without a just solution and Israel's continued settlements and creation of pretexts on the ground without being deterred pose the biggest question mark on the credibility of the international community and its institutions. We call on the international community, especially the Security Council, to assume its legal responsibilities to obligate Israel to lift the siege on the Gaza Strip, put the peace process back on track through credible negotiations based on the international resolutions and not on force, to address all final status issues, ending occupation within specified time frames, and establishing an independent Palestinian state within 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital.
Residents in a sleepy Bathurst street have been given the shock of their lives. US Homeland Security turning up on their doorsteps. The officers were helping our police and border force bust a global racket.
A raid at dawn, a multi-agency, multinational operation. American officers from the Department of Homeland Security, some of the dozens, descending on a quiet street in Bathurst. Inside the house, 36-year-old Rob Bettles. Police had been monitoring him for a month after suspicion was raised at the border. Australian authorities, with the help of Homeland Security, will allege Bettles was importing firearm parts from the US, Germany, Japan and Hong Kong, all bound for Bathurst. Officers conducting the raid found a crystallised liquid, causing a shutdown of the street as chemical and explosive experts moved in.
President Moon Jae-in has called to declare an official end to the Korean War, saying it will pave the way for complete denuclearization and lasting peace on the Korean peninsula. He made the remarks at the UN General Assembly on Wednesday, which was held virtually for the first time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. President Moon asked for the international community's support so that the two Koreas can advance into an era of reconciliation and prosperity through the end-of-war declaration. His remarks are seen as a gesture to get the Korea peace process back on track, which has lost its steam since the failed Hanoi summit between the leaders of North Korea and the US last year. US President Donald Trump also gave a pre-recorded speech at the General Assembly, and for the first time, he didn't mention North Korea, which again reflects the ongoing standoff in nuclear talks between Pyongyang and Washington.
Now, the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and France's Emmanuel Macron have held an hour-long conversation for the first time in months following a standoff between the two NATO allies over mounting tensions in the eastern Mediterranean. Erdogan said to have emphasised the need for using diplomatic opportunities to descale the situation and achieve sustainable negotiations. It follows the news that Turkey and Greece have agreed to talks over disputed water in the eastern Mediterranean.
Experts say they have identified the cause of death for hundreds of elephants across Botswana. Government officials say a naturally occurring neurotoxin called cyanobacteria has been blooming in the water in the country.
So we know the elephant to really be the only animal, for example, that is drinking below the surface of the water, which is really where the growth of this cyanobacteria is.
Experts say the phenomenon was brought on by climate change, with warmer temperatures increasing the intensity and severity of harmful algae blooms. They also fear more algae blooms can affect other species around the world.
A group of people calling themselves Action for Change are gathering at Church Square. They're planning to march to the Zimbabwean and Nigerian embassies to stop trafficking in the country.
As you can see, they've already started moving. They were gathering at 10 o'clock, making sure that everybody has arrived. Now they're marching all the way to the embassies of Nigeria and Zimbabwe. They're calling for an end in human trafficking.
China has started construction of at least 13 entirely new military positions, including 3 air bases, 5 permanent air defense positions and 5 heliports near the line of actual control, the LAC, in the aftermath of the Doklam standoff in 2017. Remember, this was reported by different agencies in the past as well, but this report by a global security consultancy, Stratfor, has now said and confirmed that construction on 4 of those new heliports started only after the current border standoff erupted in eastern Ladakh in early May.
We knew that the country was supposed to have enacted this law more than 10 years, about 10 years ago, but it has taken this long. It has taken 6 petitions, and the Chief Justice says it is a painful decision, but it must be taken. He says the Parliament has refused to be able to take this decision. And he says there is no other way. If a country cannot respect the laws that it writes itself, then the Parliament stands dissolved, because its work is to make laws.
Keith Schembri was arrested early on Tuesday morning, hours after a court issued an order to freeze his assets. He's since been released on police bail. Schembri served as Chief of Staff to former Prime Minister Joseph Muscat. The corruption allegations against him were first made public by murdered investigative reporter Daphne Caruana Galizia in 2017. It's alleged that he received €100,000 worth of kickbacks from passports sold to 3 Russian nationals. Malta started selling passports to wealthy foreigners in 2014, and Caruana Galizia had published several investigations into the scheme on her blog. Schembri resigned from his position in November, shortly before Muscat stepped down.
По первому зоне чужая. Я включен, работает. Пусть по первому. Внимание, по первому пусть.
This convoy of Sikhs in southern Pakistan is on its way to one of their holiest sites, Darbar Sahib. It is where their founder, Guru Nanak, spent the last years of his life, and this is the anniversary of his death. The pilgrimage they are on is centuries old, but the road is new, a 4.6-kilometre thoroughfare between India and Pakistan. It is the first visa-free border crossing in the two nations' history. It opened last November. The rare moment of cooperation between the nuclear-armed rivals was meant to allow Sikh pilgrims to visit holy sites on either side of the border. But COVID-19 restrictions put a stop to that in March. Now, Pakistan is allowing the pilgrimage to continue, but India is not.